your family. You want to help your man financially. But nowadays it's really very hard to get a job as a girl in Trinidad. You're looking now to find something to do. You meet a boss man who promised to help you. But when the man lay down the condition, it's nothing else but humiliation. They want to see your whole anatomy. They want to see where your doctor never see. They want to do what your husband never do. Still you will know if that scamp will hire you. Well, it is all this humiliation to get a job these days as a woman. Brother, they could keep
their money, my honey, and die with my dignity.
Not at all. Be bombarded. Oh, yeah, yeah. Badam, be bam, di dum, di day. Babadam, some of them don't pack up already, yet they sit down, waiting like Mapipi, using the power of the cash and position, waiting to abuse and exploit every woman. To get the work you have to go to bed with he. Become his lady, second wife and deputy. And as the next woman come on the line, he start to tell you you ain't good, you can't whine. They want to see you in some fancy pose. Want to see how you look without your clothes. They want you cock up like a bloody acrobat. The wife at home, they can't have she to do that. So before I had to lick down somebody, or cause the police come for me, tell them they could keep their money, I go keep my honey and die with my dignity. I'm born with it. Looking for work, you might bounce up a fellow who might be looking quite handsome and macho. You tell yourself you want to work with him, so you decide you go try a ratchet fee. But when you're done, it's then you get to know he wife leave him and gone long time ago. With all the cash he have, he's a failure. The man ain't nothing but a blinking sukuya. He want to feel up your navel and your breast. He want to see if you are loader on your chest. The things he want to do you with his hand, like if he's searching to find the promised land. I am a woman, I don't make any skylark. Before I slap you and you die of heart attack. Glasses, keep your money.
Keep my honey and die with my dignity.
It have a lot of women just like me who might be not well off financially. You need a job and you really need it bad. A man decide to help you must feel glad. But if you value yourself as a woman, you will demand respect from the vagabond. Stand up to them, let them know the truth. It's what you want to end up blinking prostitute. You have a mole on your back, they want to see. They want to see if you have marks on your belly. They want to know how much man you had before, and if you're strong enough to take any more. I have my pride and I have my ambition. I want to hold my head up high as a woman. So tell them they can keep their money, I will keep my honey and die. To mind your family, you want to help your man financially. But nowadays it's really very hard to get a job as a girl in Trinidad. You're looking now to find something to do. You meet a boss man who promised to help you. But when the man lay down the condition, it's nothing else but humiliation. They want to see your whole anatomy. They want to see where your doctor never see. They want to do what your husband never do. Still you will know if that scamp will hire you. Well, it is all this humiliation to get a job these days as a woman. Brother, they could keep
their money, my honey, and die with my dignity.
Not at all. Be bombarded. Oh, yeah, yeah. Ba-da-ba-dum, be-bum-de-dum-de-day, ba-ba-da-bye. Some of them done pack up already, yet they sit down, waiting like Mappy P, using the power of the cash and position, waiting to abuse and exploit every woman. To get the work you have to go to bed with he, become the slave, the second wife and deputy. And as the next woman come on the line, he start to tell you you ain't good, you can't whine. They want to see you in some fancy pose. Want to see how you look without your clothes. They want you cock up like a bloody acrobat. The wife at home, they can't ask she to do that. So before I had to lick down somebody, or cause I let the police come for me, tell them they could keep their money, I go keep my honey and tie with my dignity. I'm born with it. Looking for work, you might bounce up a fellow who might be looking quite handsome and macho. You tell yourself you want to work with him, so you decide you go try a ratchet fee. But when you're done, it's then you get to know he wife leave him and gone long time ago. With all the cash he have, he's a failure. The man ain't nothing but a blinking sukuya. He want to feel up your navel and your breast. He want to see if you are loader on your chest. The things he want to do you with his hand, like if he's searching to find the promised land. I am a woman, I don't make any skylark. Before I slap you and you die of heart attack. Glasses, keep your money.
Keep my honey and die with my dignity.
It have a lot of women just like me who might be not well off financially. You need a job and you really need it bad. A manly side to help you must feel glad. But if you value yourself as a woman, you will demand respect from the vagabond. Stand up to them, let them know the truth. It's what you want to end up blinking prostitute. You have a mole on your back, they want to see. They want to see if you have marks on your belly. They want to know how much man you had before, and if you're strong enough to take any more. I have my pride and I have my ambition. I want to hold my head up high as a woman. So tell them they could keep their money, I will keep my honey
and die with my dignity.
Oh, yes. Good evening, and welcome. Welcome to Politics 101. Welcome to Politics 101. Good evening to you. The indomitable Sandra Devines, singing Sandra, the queen of social commentary. Die with my dignity, the feminist anthem of Calypso and our Caribbean. Are born with it. Born with your dignity. We would hope that the world would have been a place where we don't see gender. We don't see gender differences. Or we don't see class differences. Or we don't see racial differences. They would want us to believe that we are a people without identity. Women are just there. Well, if you're not a woman, you're what? A piece of meat, right? Right? If racial identity, don't worry with that. That is for David Hines and them. If you're not Indian or if not African, you're what? You can be bought. right? Right? You don't got no identity, right? If you're not working class and all of we is one, them who get millions and billions, and then we won't got nothing, but all of we is one, right? Right? Use what? Identity is important, people. Don't let nobody tell you anything different. Hold on to your gender identity. There is something about being a woman that puts you in certain position. Ask Sandra. I's a man, nobody don't ask me if I get more on my belly. Or if I whine, if I can take more. But invariably, women are asked those questions because they're women. Identity is important. Don't let people tell you nonsense. When we finish here, I want you all to understand we're all Guyanese. But Guyanese is a civic identity. You're a Guyanese woman or a Guyanese man. You're a Guyanese of Amerindian extraction, indigenous identity. And because you're a Guyanese woman, Amerindian, there is something that this society constructs about you that allows an Indian or African man, Guyanese, to believe he can take certain liberty with you. Or you stop that nonsense. We are all Guyanese. Stop it. It's the most ignorant thing anybody can teach you. The alleged abuser of that child is a man of a certain ethnic extraction. At a certain time in Guyana, when men of that ethnic extraction are given privileges that others don't get. And that child is a young girl of a certain ethnic extraction that the rest of us believe are non-people. You hear about the skull when Amerindian mixed with Indian, Amerindian mixed with black, Amerindian mixed with white or Portuguese. What we just call them? Huh? Bokam people. We are people. Black people, Indian people, Portuguese people. We are people. But they are Bokam people. All you get off this nonsense. We are all Guyanese because we live in a geographical space that got a flag, that got a constitution, that got a government. That is what Guyanese means. It's a civic identity. And in that space, there are different groups based on ethnicity, based on gender, based on social class, based on country and tongue. And there's a hierarchy. When Kit Nascimento said, Ogun said, Rickford Burke and David Hines are dangerous, he don't mean that we are rapists. Because we are not. He means we are black men, dark skin. Don't wrong we mouth like the queen. And we come from country. That's why we are dangerous. He's making a class, racial, and gender identification of us, and he's putting meaning to it. If you're black like me, and you're loud like me, and you are a man who don't take nonsense, The meaning of that is dangerous. That's what Kit Nascimento was doing. That's why abusing nasty. Because I got one thing. That if it was up to here, I would not get that education. Our people got education. Me get that. I'm going to abuse you with education. Because other than education, I'm not up to his standard as far as he's concerned. The one thing that makes me equal to that man is education. And that's why I abuse him educatedly. Singing Sandro, Die With My Dignity. We come on here tonight, we continue our coverage of the rape accusations against a government minister. I don't know the man and I don't care to know him, and I'm glad I don't know him personally. I don't know the young woman. I don't know her. So this is not personal for me. Because I recognize there's certain levels, yes. There's the level of the person, there's the level of the family, there's the level of the community. But the man who's alleged to have committed this offense is a man who holds power over us. A man who sits where he sits and stands where he stands because of the collective consent of the rest of us. When we mark we hand with a black ink and we put it there every 5 years, what we are doing, we are giving people permission to protect us, to save us from ourselves, to represent us. But then those people who we give permission with that finger ink, they then take that power that we give them and abuse it, use it to abuse us. And that is not what we give them the power for. Abuse of power. That is what this is all about. Whether he get charged, and if he get charged, whether he get off or not. In the court of civic public opinion, he's damn guilty. Even if he did just watch the girl and then put your hand on she, he's damn guilty. Even if the thing didn't happen as she described it, he's damn guilty. And it is that guilt that I'm concerned about. The other guilt, the court will take care of, whether he's guilty or not. That other guilt, the court will take care of. The court that I'm dealing with is that when we finger on that ballot, we didn't give him the power to go around the place and take advantage of schoolgirls. He's innocent until proven guilty. So says the court, and I respect that. But I am assuming that that little girl is lying. I'm assuming that she didn't make up the story. Even if she make up 99% of the story, the 1% that she didn't make up still make you guilty. That's my story. That's my story. And I've been saying from 2020, we have installed the government and given that government open license. The parliament can't tell them nothing. The court don't tell them nothing. The official opposition can't tell them nothing. Nobody can tell them anything in this country. The foreigners can't tell them nothing because they're carrying out their biddings. What we have is not a normal government, it's a runaway government. And in a runaway government, a man can decide he can watch schoolgirls and do whatever he wants to do with them because he's assuming that he belongs to a power structure that is unaccountable. One of the consequences of regime change is unaccountable government. And one of the consequences of unaccountable government is that those who function there believe they can do citizens anything. According to Singing Sandra, I ain't making no skylark. Because if David Hines was accused of raping a schoolgirl, all time like now, I did lie down on the cold concrete. I break down. Not like me would get bail to go home and sleep in my bed because you're black like me. And you talk like me. And you don't stand for no skylark. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101. We are here tonight telling the truth. Because the truth has always set us free. And I got friends tonight, so I behave in myself. I got lady friend. You go by Teacher George. Teacher George is a bachelor. You do work for you. And then he said, all right, time for eat. And he shut your eye, grace before meal. When you open your eye, Teacher George get patty and pint tart. So Teacher George, who make them think this for you? Boy, you don't think me get lady friend too? Me get lady friend tonight, lady friends tonight. I think me get lady friend. And the ladies are going to weigh in from the female perspective, from the women perspective, because they bring a perspective they can't bring. Sparrow would never sing a calypso like what Singing Sandra sing there. He's the greatest calypsonian. But he's a male. And he can sing on feminism, but he would never be able to sing a calypso like that. Can you imagine Sparrow saying, they want to know if you get marks on your belly? They want to feel up where your doctor never see? It's only a woman can express. Sparrow and the male calypsonians can express the same sentiment, but they express it. You hear what Sparrow said? Every now and then they cuff you down. They'll you love you long and they love you strong. And then at the end of the calypso, you put in the punch. Then they leave you eternally. Then they leave you eternally. In the last line. But the woman would narrate the story from stanza 1 to stanza 6. Perspective matters, and who gives the perspective matters. We come on air tonight. The latest is that the young girl, and this is a child, the child has requested her own attorney, and the government has prevented her from speaking to her own attorney. Attorney Dexter Todd has been requested by the child, and a lawyer from his firm went 3 times today to speak with the child, and the government didn't allow it. What they got to hide? They take away a tablet the child had. When the lawyer contacted the Child Protection Agency, the lady in charge said she doesn't know about the taking away the tablet. She don't know about the prevention from seeing the lawyer. And she referred him to the permanent secretary. So the girl is not allowed to see a lawyer. And the lawyers are saying there's nothing in the law that prevents her from seeing a lawyer or from retaining a lawyer. Dharamlal is lawyered up. And the state is preventing the child who has accused him from lawyering up. Are we there, Panam? Are we there, Panam? If you all were intending to give up, and you can't give up now, as we say in the countryside, in song, turn back, cat man. Turn back, cat. Tell the cat man, turn back. We're not giving up now. Are we there, Panam? Awidepanam. Good evening and welcome. And let me bring in my lady friends tonight because tonight is their night. Robin Simon, good evening, sister. I've not seen you in a while.
Good evening, Dr. Imes. Good evening, viewers.
And of course, Robin needs no introduction. She's already a star. And she's one of those women who will tell you up front, I born with my dignity and I'm going to die with it.
Amen.
Golden Grove woman. And my young friend, I believe me only get lady friend, me and get young lady friend too. But my young feisty lady friend is Shanika Haynes, who you all would know because she faced this all over when the opposition leader is holding his press conference. She just run things. She just run. Good evening, Shanika.
Evening, Dr. Hines. Good evening to you and your viewers.
And thank you very much. At the last moment, Sister Amanza Walton should have been on the panel tonight. She told me this afternoon that she has an urgent meeting, and depends on when the meeting is finished, she will join us. But I think we have two capable ladies here who are going to represent from their perspective what we are in the face of. Let me start with the young woman. When you heard this news of the allegations against the dishonorable minister, what came to your mind, Shanika?
I will say to you immediately, it is no shock. What I want to say to start with is that I commend that young woman for her bravery. She has done something that the entire of Guyana should have been doing since 2020, and that is standing up to the level of discrimination, oppression, wickedness at every level that we have been seeing coming from this installed regime from the time they have entered. It took, you said something earlier, it took a young Amerindian queen to stand up, our first people to stand up against a tyrant crew. And I commend her and everyone who is behind her, helping to give her strength. And, you know, the fact that despite her parents and whoever would have, according to them, take whatever money, that she is still willing to proceed and push, it is beyond commendable. She is the strongest among us all, because all have been faced with so many things coming from this regime from the time they have entered, and nobody has stood up the way she has decided to, with the full arm of the government against her. You asked me how I felt.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm saying that it was no shock. This is a man whose mind is in such a place that he could have stood in parliament, and after he felt somehow about what a female MP would have said to him, that he could have said to her that she needed a dildo in the National Assembly on the mic as he addressed the assembly and the nation, because we know it's usually live. And the worst part of it is at the end of that, and when it caused the trouble that it did after, the sitting Speaker of the House did not reprimand him in any single way, but you found that you had a host of MPs. And in fact, Sherrod Duncan, a male who stood up after that would have happened, suspended, not giving the little money that it is give you, because politicians know you spend a lot of money back on the people. They took everything away from him and suspended him. and did nothing about the statement made from a sitting minister of government. That in itself does not just tell you about Dharmlal. It tells you about the speaker. It tells you about all of his colleagues who sat that day in parliament and watched him insult an MP. Hence, when they're walking to communities like they do with their positions, and we're talking about abuse of power, strutting their shoulders in our first people's land and feel that they can treat them anyhow and talk to them anyhow, we must understand it is a culture of the sitting government. It is not just something that happened today. I have seen from following politics as long as I can remember many stories, many instances. We had the VP, the second vice president currently, where his wife, his then wife, but we should put that in uplifted commas because we heard of the life after. We heard her describe to length what she faced as she lived in State House and what was met out to her. So we understand this is a culture from the very top. So it was no surprise to me. But what was surprising is that this young woman would have stood tall and defended, and she continues to defend what she has said. And that is what surprised me. And that is what makes me happy. And that is what gives me hope for this country. That our young people, despite everything that will come against her now, she has decided to pursue this.
Shanika Haynes, a young member of the People's National Congress who responded to my call 2 hours ago. Sister Amanza should have been on tonight. She informed me 2 hours ago that she had an emergency meeting, and I texted Shanika right away, and within 5 minutes she said, yes, Dr. Hines, I'll be on. I'm eternally grateful to you for answering the call of public service. Robin Simon, you are a woman, a mother. You take care of children as part of your daily life. What went through your mind when this little girl came out with that revelation?
Honestly speaking, Dr. Hines, the first thing that came to my mind is death of the alleged. Why I say that? It's because as a mother, as a caregiver, when I read the report, especially the part when the child gave the detail of how the alleged removed his private parts from her anus and ejaculated on her back, and then said in open words, this two full scoops, 2 spoonful of his semen. Dr. Hines, it hurts me because she is a child, regardless, she is a child. You preyed upon that child. It's like the lion and the deer looked at its meal, look and stayed still, and then move in for the kill. He has destroyed that child. He has destroyed her mentally. He has destroyed her emotionally. He has destroyed her physically. It hurt me because no one was there to save her and protect her. The system has failed our girl children, these children. There is no safety net for the young women in this country. And I can't even say the young women. I have to say the young men too. Because when it's not the girl children they're interfering with, it's our little sons as well. And I am so hurt that I have to say that the women within this government has failed these children. They have failed them beyond control because we just lost 20 of them. Now this one, how many more do we have? How many more will come out and say this is what happened and this is what happened and this is what happened? Is it because they are poor? Is it because they depend on you, the ministers, the people, the ministers in the government for assistance with things that they cannot get or things that they're not accustomed to or the little finances, money? Is it because of that you're going to use your position to prey upon these children? How do I feel? As a mother, I cannot even explain how deep this whole situation has rocked me. You see, if this young man was, according to my sister, if this young man was dealt with since the incident with the dildo when he disrespected one of our former ministers, he might have been acting a little bit different. But he sees the privilege to be disrespectful. He is heartless. He's rude. And when you look at him with all of this that is happening, it's as though he has a criminalistic mind. His behavior is like a criminal. They are the ones sitting there to protect our children. Every government official, every mother, every teacher, every father, every adult has a mandate. It is our right to protect the children. They are our future, not to destroy them. And I am proud that she stood up with whatever little dignity he has left in her. I am proud that she has taken whatever little pride to stand up and talk about it, to let the world know what is happening. And I am disappointed in the women that is sitting in this government. I am disappointed they are mothers. How would they feel if this had happened to their children? And I am disappointed in the comments on social media, Dr. Hines. They are labeling this young girl. One person said, oh, it's the money she wanted. Why she accept the money? She was running up for a pageant. Is it too hard for people to understand? Poverty, we know that poverty is a state of mind and people can change things if they get up and work. We know that. But some poor people got pride.
Yeah.
Some poor people got dignity.
Yeah.
As the singer just that you opened the show with said, she rather you keep your money and I will die with my dignity. Some poor people got pride and dignity. And I am so much 100% proud of her. What we have to do now is make sure that we provide all measures, means, and ways to help her to heal so that she can be a martyr. She can be a role model for her own people, her own fellow sisters and other young ladies from within our community and all across the country. This government is evil.
Evil. Good
Very
evening. Good evening
we do not stand up
go
and
ahead, Robin. Go ahead.
we will definitely keep sinking. But I am sorry for our young people. I am sorry for our young people. It is disgraceful.
Good evening. Good evening to all of you who have come out tonight in your numbers. Good evening, Auntie Brenda. How you doing? I got to pass me, Marby. I ain't give up on you. I ain't meet up the side yet, but I got to pass me, Marby. Good evening to all of you. Shanika and Robin, I want you all to listen to this. This is a letter by Dr. Jailal, who apparently did his research. He says a report in Stabrook News on April 2nd, 2022, said 6 people were charged for a 300 million fraud at the GRDB, and one of them was Minister uh, Dharam Lal. Then he went on, he said there was a report on the 31st of May 2016 in Stabrook News who said that Minister Dharam Lal allegedly took out his firearm and threatened to shoot an employee of the Inter-American Development Bank office in Guyana after he saw the individual communicating with his ex-wife. Related articles in the Stabrook News said the PPP will continue to engage Dharam Lal over the alleged shooting threat. Then it quoted Jack Dio as saying Dharam Lal will have to give believable explanations. And then it went on to say, in the same Stabrook News on June 16, 2016, no charges will be laid against Dharam Lal. Then he said there was the headline, opposition motion seeking expulsion of Dharam Lal from parliament. That he talked about a dildo remark to a fellow lawmaker. Then it went on to talk about, and this is now Stabrook News again, in June of 2017, the business of the National Assembly was at a standstill for 15 minutes last evening when the Speaker, Dr. Barton Scotland, walked out of the chambers in the face of a refusal by the opposition side of the House to follow his directives. The latest confrontation between Scotland and opposition members of parliament, when an opposition backbencher, Nigel Dharam Lal, refused to withdraw his statement that the government of Guyana was decimating the indigenous people. Oh God, Lord, are you come help me? Are you come help me? Let me read again. Let me read again. Oh, are you fan me? Fan me, fan me. Members of parliament started when opposition backbencher Nigel Dharam Lal refused to withdraw his statement that the government of Guyana, this is a coalition government, was decimating the indigenous people. Dharam Lal had made the statement during his presentation on a motion brought by his colleague, Pauline Sukai. Dr. Jerry Jailal has done some research on this person. I'm coming back to you, Shanika, because like me and like Robin, you've said that this thing is a pattern. This thing is systemic. And you use the C word. This thing is part of a culture. Do you remember those incidents now that I read them there to you?
Well, I wasn't aware of some of them, but like the one I pointed out when I started, I was there. I thought that day it was one of the most disgraceful days sitting in parliament, because the incident with him saying what he said about the dildo was just one incident on that day. He was being questioned on that day. He was presenting, and it was all day. He carried on with all sorts of things that had nothing to do with what was being discussed in parliament, and the speaker allowed it all day. That incident happened. He wasn't rebuked. The day went on for a bit more, and it was at the coming down to the end of the day when opposition parliamentarians couldn't take it anymore, because he started presenting about 11 o'clock that day, and it was night when the real session occurred with him and Sherrod, or almost, because it was constant. And I will continue to say it is a culture. because these incidents that you have just read and pointed out, and then you heard in the last part you read where he was basically trying to swing what we now see that they do on the then government. Now we have the evidence. But I remember as well, and I will say it because the records in Kaichor News stand today. In April 2015, we had the then permanent secretary who was accused of constantly having a young Amerindian girl who was then about 14 to 15 out of her village because he playing tickets to have her in town. When the parents made a report of her being missing because she couldn't be found, and then when that came out, she called home to say that she's in Georgetown with a now sitting minister of government besides Darmlal. And that is in the evidence thereof. That story is currently in Kaichor News archives. Let me see if I can just pull up the direct date because I don't want people to have me wrong. These are things that are sitting there. That person is now a sitting minister in government who was accused of that.
Yeah.
And again, another cover-up happened. And the reason the parent at the time said that the relationship ended was because the young lady, well, at the time she felt she was in love, but at one point she found out that there were other young girls like her. And that is how the relationship ended. And that is another current sitting minister of government who was the then PS at the time. Yes. So I will continue to say it is not a one-time incident. It is a culture where they're accustomed, people get upset when the leader and persons refer to the government as wanting domination, control. But in the instances where we see these things happen, it's where these people feel that they have total control over a grouping of people because they enter these villages and they know that these persons seek help from them because they have no other way to go. They have no other way to go. And they cause them to continuously be dependent on them. And you find these things happening. When we even talked about what had happened in Madhya. All right, there you go. When we talk about what happened in Madhya, you would hear persons from that area would tell you, as much as they talk about David Otter Granger, the former president of Guyana, when they talk about the buses, the boats that were available to those young girls and persons going to school in those areas, it won't cause that dorm not to be so crowded. And they didn't necessarily have to depend on a minister for coming and give them a fleck. There were systems put in place to help them along with their education. So you didn't have to be running to a minister who running down every 2 morning because he want to talk to some little girl because of something that he can't have elsewhere because nobody will take them seriously. But they use these things to suppress and to make them vulnerable in these senses. And it is wickedness to its highest. Because as we continue to talk, it is about the abuse of power. And I read today, I think it was, that they would have taken this young lady to the home of Darmlal.
Yeah.
And now the police officers are talking out and saying that he changed the color. He had it thoroughly painted after these incidents occurred. And now they're taking her, not only because, I want to know where is we talk about the system. The system is more than broken. because psychologically, taking that young lady back to that home to run her through that entire story in itself does harm. And then you're doing so after you know you done paint the place because you want her now to think in her head, but I remember different color. But now you have painted the place over. You give him time, you bail him the same night. He never sleep in the station. People did less or names didn't call in none of these things. And they spent 7 to 2 hours. 7 to 2 hours in the lockups. Then care, male or female, because we have Miss Simon here.
Miss Simon right here.
7 to 2 hours for what they claim is terroristic act because she protests the wicked regime for murder. You understand? And then they take this young lady and walk her through because they're beginning to play with her mind. And then you don't give her, you're telling me they're not giving her access to lawyers. She hasn't even gotten psychological assistance yet. And you're taking her through this. The system, in my view, it's not even there. It's in broken. It's in there.
There's no system. It's in there.
There is no system because these things in no proper country, we boast of how much oil we get. We boast that we're this ranking and that ranking. And persons have to face these kind of situations as they come up against ministers of government. It's sickening. So you can understand what if this can happen while the whole public, the whole world is watching on. What happens to those young persons who are forced into the non-system on a daily basis? What happens to them when nobody's looking at their cases, when nobody's examining? I can only imagine what is happening. Because if we're at this stage and we can see this play out like if everybody blind in this country, then we have issues. And you know, this is why, Dr. Hines, I always say, our citizens have a responsibility that we are continuously neglecting. And that responsibility is to hold any government, any political engine accountable. Don't care who it be. Because whenever they come at you in these forms, if you do nothing, we are heading down an extremely, extremely dark path. We are heading down an extremely dark path.
Dark path. Robin, let me bring you in here. After hearing that litany of infractions by this minister, from pulling a gun on somebody because they're talking to his ex-wife, to being charged for fraud and, well, to be involved in a fraud accusation and then having no charge against him, to dildo, to telling refusing to withdraw a statement against the government. The government was decimating Amerindian people. React to the litany of infractions by this man.
Our one Guyana village ram is a loose cannon. And this is not only him. This is the entire party. This is not only him. This is not nothing new, Dr. Hines. This is a government that covers and protects these individuals because they all get together to do all their evil work against the people and the children of Guyana. This is not nothing new. These people are loose cannons waiting to blow up. And because you see, we have been praying a lot and we've been calling upon our ancestors a lot lately, the devil is beginning to drift and they are being exposed. The only sad thing is that our children are being involved. Our children are being hurt. It is time our Guyanese people stand up to these individuals, stand up to what is happening to our children, our seniors, to all Guyanese, because these people do not care. If they can allow a man like this, if this government can allow a man like this to be going on, parading up and down, still living a life, still sitting in the position that he is sitting in to make decisions for us, our children, to protect our children, to protect the citizens of this country, if they can have him sitting there, what are they thinking about the people of Guyana really? Do they even care about us? Do they even care about our future? Do they even care about the children? It is sad that we have to read these things about the people who are supposed to be protecting us. Now, listen, when I was back in the States and you wanted to work in the teaching system, you have this old program that you have to go through and register, and you have to have certain amount of marks because it's like a test given, right? One of the things you have to do is to make sure you don't have a choice. It's you have to make sure that you protect the children. If something is brought to you for by a child, or a child comes to you and say, Miss Simon, this was how I was beaten, I was hit, they have bruises on their skin. Immediately we have to call the police. We do not have to wait on no government official, the president, nobody. You have to call the police and get the police involved into the matter. Then child protection services and all of that is going to step in. The point I'm trying to make is, from the time these situations come up against our children, against our women, all the abuse, the killing, and all of these things should be reported and deal with immediately. You took people who, as my sister just said, barely could do anything. You all hold on to them for 72 hours. I am not surprised that this man spent less than 4 hours. I am not surprised and put on a $1 million bail. I am not surprised because it is the PPP way of doing things in this country. It is the government way of doing things in this country. They don't have the policy in what goes for one goes for all. But
Correct.
it is sad that our children now is a part of the devilish act of this government. They are evil. And
Mr.
They
Hines,
we have to do something about it as Guyanese. We have to.
Mr. Hines, I just
yes,
want
Shanika.
to make another point because I don't think we have addressed it for the night.
Yeah.
One of the other sickening things about this is that the letter that was so-called sent, because the president apparently has zero powers. He always waits for somebody to write him and tell them that I will take leave or I will resign, because we saw it with Charan Das, and here again we saw it with Darmalal. But I shudder because in a public system, there are structures in public service. Top officials, when being investigated, they can proceed on leave, or they are sent on administrative leave for investigations. But nowhere, not in the Caribbean, not in the wider world, a minister of government who is there as a political appointee, a political head of a ministry, has the option of administrative leave. When any such incidents arise, that person should be fired or resign. And if they are so proven to be cleared of any of these things, they can be reinstated. Those are the words and the terms used when you are dealing with political heads and appointments, not administrative leave. So this in itself as well shows what the government is willing to do, Because, I tend to always say that this government treats this country and the population like we are all left behind earth, that we don't have brain, we don't think, we don't understand. So you can come to us with the trash of administrative leave for a sitting minister of government. And I want to, at this point as well, call out the international organizations
Yes.
and community, because we see a lot of statements when things are very frivolous and of non-issue. But when you see a sitting minister being accused of rape in a country where the law says no one 16 and under can consent legally, and not a word has been said, and where that minister so-called wrote the president to say, I will proceed on administrative leave. It is time that Guyana, all of our citizens, holds the government accountable. Sometimes I have a 15-year-old daughter. She turned 15 last month.
Yeah.
And I will not speak of what I would think of if something like that is to happen. And I have a 9-year-old daughter as well, and a 10-year-old son who lives and resides in Guyana, the place I call home. And it is the responsibility of every citizen of this country, whether childbearing, have a child or not, to stand up for this country. Because when we continue to allow this kind of environment to persist, I said, Guyana, we are heading down a very, very dark path.
We are heading down a very dark path. Shanika Haynes and Robin Simon here tonight discussing the latest scandal. And this one is more than just a scandal. Let's take a couple of minutes and listen to Singing Sandra.
You want to help to mind your family. You want to help your man financially. But nowadays it's really very hard to get a job as a girl in Trinidad. You're looking now to find something to do. You meet a boss man who promised to help you. But when the man lay down the condition, it's nothing else but humiliation. They want to see your whole anatomy. They want to see where your doctor never see. They want to do what your husband never do. Still you will know if that scamp will hire you. Well, it is all this humiliation to get a job these days as a woman. Brother, they could keep
Their money, my honey, and die with my dignity.
not at all. Be bombarded. Oh, yeah. Badam, be bam, be dum, be there. Babarabai. Some of them done pack up already, yet they sit down, waiting like Mappy P, using the power of the cash and position, waiting to abuse and exploit every woman. To get the work you have to go to bed with he, become his lady, second wife and deputy. And as a next woman come on the line, he's have to tell you you ain't good, you can't whine. They want to see you in some fancy pose. Want to see how you look without your clothes. The warrior cock up like a bloody acrobat. The wife at home, they can't she to do that. So before I had to lick down somebody, or cause another police come for me. Tell them they could keep their money, I go keep my money and die with my dignity. I'm born with it.
Die with my dignity, they're singing, Sandra. Sisters, I want us to address this issue. I remember, and you all remember, Minister of Education, Miss Manik Chan, ball out for rape in the National Assembly, directing it at some men on the other side of the aisle. And now, as Education Minister, a girl child under her ministry's care is accusing one of her brother cabinet members of rape. And she is silent when she speaks. She speaks with forked tongue. And all the other women in that government and party are protecting a male with privilege in society, taking a stand against the children of our country. Robin, comment on the behavior of the women in the PPP.
Dr. Hines, I will go back to when Quindon got killed.
Mm-hmm.
When the police came up and they shoot up this side of Golden Grove. We had children, and I'm gonna say this again, children, because the tear gas was so much around the market area between the 1st Street, the 2nd Street, President's College Road, because they divided themselves into areas. And the minister who is responsible for the counselors and the social workers, she took those people to Monrepo because those people were traumatized. The kids up here are yet to see a social worker. I am not surprised at the Minister of Education. To me, she is senseless. She is a very disrespectful woman, because if she can disrespect our staff, which is a family friend of ours, describing the woman's home as not it's not better than where she wanted that woman to stay, because they transferred her into the interlands. They sent her into the interlands to work, and she disrespected that teacher. There is no way our Minister of Education can have feelings for nobody's children. That's number one. Number two, the president has a wife who is a mother. We have other women within the government, all of them. If these people do not spend time with these children, they do not visit these places for the right reasons, do you honestly think, and I'm speaking to all Guyanese, that these people would have any interest at heart for other people's children? They would not. And it is shameful. And I am so embarrassed to know that we have so many women sitting in this government with power to do things for our children, and they're not using it. They are only taking care of their lives, their friends, their cronies, the people that supports them. They are not looking into the interests of all these children in this country. In fact, they're not looking into the interests of nobody. Because as when you look at the day-to-day living of people, instead of we have growth, everything about us is declining. And everybody keeps forgetting that the children are looking up to us. Everybody getting the children are looking up to us for support. the love. They're looking up to us to be taught. Food, money. You see, money, Dr. Hines, it traps the minds of our poor people. And the government knows what is happening to our people, and they're using it to the best of their ability. That's why our village ram could have done what he did. And I am not going to deny that. I'm not going to say that that child is lying. She's not.
She's not. She's not. She's not. Thank you very much, Robin. Somebody, Sister Brown, is saying, Dr. Hines, it's unfortunate that Dr. Hines is unaware that statements were issued by female ministers of government. Miranda, Dr. Hines knows something about statements.
Mm-hmm.
It's better than say nothing.
Correct.
What we need when a 15-year-old child is accusing a man of power is for party and all those things to step aside. Mm-hmm. And as a woman, you should speak clearly, not going around as the female members of the PPP have gone around. Mr. Dr. Jailal is not my favorite person. He's partial to the PPP. 9 out of 10 of his letters are to the PPP. But he, on this issue, did some research and pointed out to us what this guy has been doing since 2016. Clearly, those female ministers must know about this rat among them. Mm-hmm. And they're talking in garbled tongue with water in their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Shirika, come in.
You know, the fact that you brought up, and it's something that has been said many times before. The fact that the member of parliament at time could have put it in her mind to say the word rape, yes, in the situation, yes, that she was faced with tells you so much about how they think. And it tells you that they have no regard for real rape victims. I remember us having this conversation when that incident happened. That you can do and say something like that under that circumstance where you were wrong, and to holler, oh, rape. Understanding the context of that word and how serious it is to so many. And
black men like me.
Persons,
yes, yes,
go through.
Same
and not
rape.
just on the side, yes, of a woman being raped, even saying that to accuse somebody when you, yes, know it's nothing of the nature.
Yes.
How you can tarnish that person because it happens on the flip side by just uttering the word rape. So that in itself tells you a whole lot about Priya Manchan. But you know, further to say, the person talk about statements. If not a single female minister or member of the PPP issues a statement that says that he should resign,
that's right,
or be fired until an investigation is completed, yes, they have not issued a statement. They are only patting something to us to say that they made a statement, because that should be the first call to allow for an impartial investigation. It is that he must go. That's if right. You truly care. But you know, culture again, we can continue to talk about the PPP culture. As we talked earlier, the ex-wife of the current VP would have sat and told the world her story, and not a single one of them stood by her as somebody who came up around her. And there are many other incidents. We constantly hear of stories of ministers abusing their wives and partners and pulling guns left, right, and center at Palm Court here and there. And none of them stand up and say anything, because, you know, it's a culture. And I tell people something about the PPP is that when they pull you into that culture, they hold things for you. So what will you say? Because I know you. What will you say against them? Because they ensure that they pull you in to the culture. And these are things that we must understand as a people.
They
So
must
when we
understand.
see what we're seeing here, we must come with force to call them out and hold them accountable. You
Accountable.
know, um, recently, because these are things, you know, that shows what a person is like in power. There was an incident at the Commons Lodge School where the ministry decided, because they were going through and they said the school is overcrowded and they had to get rid of children. Mind you, it's the same system that puts children in, only now realizing that it is overcrowded. Because if they had a proper system, the school would never be overcrowded because you know your numbers. One of the senior members of that very ministry went to a meeting and offered parents $10,000 to remove their children who are now comfortable in a class, understanding the psychological side of that. And it was that person who said to parents, I don't know why y'all fighting up for keep y'all churn in this school, because it's only the rich people churn that get look here.
Mm-hmm.
Complaint. The batch of parents went to the ministry to complain to the very minister, and absolutely nothing happened. You know why? Because they do not care about those things.
They
They
do not
have
feel.
power and they can use it as will. As we speak, with all of this happening, you think the government finished breaking down properties? We saw what happened today. The moving up at Five Corner, and only 2 days ago, the issue persons that are fighting for the Pleasance NDC a 7 days eviction notice out of those buildings because they're building a road. So those people who built, who have families and they have been maintaining, which the same government give these properties to, at will can come and say, I can dash it down. Because we as citizens are not standing up to the PPP culture and we are allowing it to settle.
Well, here we are tonight. Shanika Haynes, Robin Simon, testifying here tonight, joining the discussion from a female standpoint about this latest. I think it was you, Robin, who mentioned the foreign people. The very American government, I'm reading in Dr. Jailal's letter, revoked Mr.
Visa.
Dharamlal's visa.
Mhm, mhm.
So they all know about this boy bad behavior. They're all of them. Sisters, I'm so grateful to you all for coming here tonight and sharing. Tomorrow night, I'm going to have Mr. Paul Slow and attorney Selwyn Peters to bring the law enforcement perspective and the legal perspective. And there's a lot of questions have been swirling around about the behavior of the police, about the legal ramifications. And tomorrow night, we're going to have those two brothers on to talk about that. Robin and Shanika, closing thoughts, anything you all wanted to say that I didn't ask about?
Yes,
Robin, we'll start with you.
I am going to say I am disappointed before I go as well in the churches.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
churches, all the ministers, be it which race, your culture, we all know that this government is a lawless, but they are worthless.
Godless.
The churches in this country, be it Muslim, Hindu, Christianity, we all should have been out there denouncing what has happened. So far, it's Pastor London, and I've noticed um, Minister Haywood.
Yes.
What is going on? Aren't they seeing what is happening to our children? Aren't they seeing what is happening to our people in this country? How much more can you, as a body that everybody, we go, we worship, we call upon God in different denominations. Everybody call God differently. The same God that we're serving. They're not coming out against the things that these things that are happening within this country. And then soon as something bad happens, everybody blames the devil. Why? Because the devil don't have mother and father.
Mm-hmm.
Because the devil does not have no one to stand up for him or her, whoever the devil is. What is going on with the churches? What are they saying about what is happening? What are they saying about what is happening, Dr. Hines? Where are we heading in this country? I am tired of asking the people of this country to open their eyes and stand up. What more do we need to see that the PPP government is not doing right by the people of this country? What more do we need to see? They are not going against their own. They are protecting their own. How much more can we take as a people? How much more? It is heartless and it is shameful to know that you're sitting in other countries and you have to read about all these things that happen in this country. These people are criminals. These people are criminals. And they are enjoying the good life, and our people are going down gradually every day. And the churches, the police, the guy in the police force, all of them, all these denominations and every part that runs this country that takes part in planning and protecting the people of this country, they are all corrupt. And I do not feel our children should suffer because of a corrupt government. It's time we stand up as a people and do something about it. It is time. The time is now.
The time is now. Shanika, your closing thoughts?
What I want to say to the public is this, that we must call for the minister to be put out of his position, not resign, or not administrative leave, but rather to be put out of his position, whether it is in the form of his resignation or the president of this country firing him. That's one. And what we must do as citizens is to stand up in every form, fashion, to hold this government accountable. We cannot sit by and every day say, oh, let the politicians try. Because you know what? At the end of the day, it is us, the citizens, the regular people of this country who suffer at the hands of those with power. And it is us who give them the power. And therefore, it is us who must show them that we still have the power to correct you and to pull you in line. It is the nation, the people who have that power. And this matter by no means should be one that is political. This is one that is human. It is a Guyanese problem that we need to correct.
Mm-hmm.
We must correct it. And we must correct it now. And it is only if our people, all of us Guyanese of every race and creed, don't just look at this as an indigenous sister. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing all these stories that are coming up. They're indigenous sisters. They are us. We are them. When Dr. Hines started out, he talked about the Guyanese culture. The Guyanese culture is only possible because every single one of us are here. Mm-hmm. That is the melting pot that creates a Guyanese culture. It is the African culture, it's the Indian culture, it's the indigenous culture, it is the Portuguese and the Chinese and the Europeans that create a Guyanese culture. And therefore, it is up to all of us to correct what is going wrong in our nation. So we can't just stand by and sit by on our computers and type. But I want to call you out to action because it can happen anywhere and anytime. And it could be anyone.
Shanika, any protest action? I know there was a protest action.
It continues tomorrow.
Where?
12 o'clock. Let me just check it in front of the office of the president.
The office of the president there on Vicinian Road at midday.
Yes, correct.
It continues tomorrow. Protest action. Those of you who are in and around Georgetown, 12 o'clock tomorrow in front of the office of the president on Vicinian Road. Yes, go ahead.
My final thought, because Robin brought this in about the church. And you know, it's a sensitive thing for me as well.
Yeah, you're the daughter of a preacher.
2 Chronicles 7:14 says, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. It means they got wicked ways and they ain't humble. Then when they turn and they do, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin. And the consequences of them doing all of the humbling, turning from the wicked ways and praying is that he will heal the land.
Heal the land.
So that is what we need to call the church. Those who are called by his name too. Before we call statements, humble themselves, pray, seek him, and turn from their wicked ways.
Turn from their wicked ways.
And then we will hear.
And then we will
Outside of that, all of us have a responsibility. And that is to hold the people with the power at be accountable.
Accountable. And quite a note to end on tonight. Thank you very much, Shanika Haynes. Thank you very much, Robin. Congratulations, Robin, on your victory there in the Haslington NDC. It's Haslington to where?
It is Haslington to Ansgrove.
To Ansgrove, yes, that's a big NDC. And Shanika there, Industry Plaisance. There's a tie. Have you all figured out how they're going to break that tie?
There isn't a tie, in my view. The calculations are clear. It is 10-8. What we see is a manipulation by GCOM with the same people at B trying to manipulate calculations to cause it to a draw. But the Plaisance village will not stand for it.
Amen.
And we will keep our feet down on it until they get it right.
Exactly.
While we are waiting on that, I talked to you earlier about the situation that is now arising in the village. No way it is going to happen. No way
it's going to happen. So we're holding on to Plaisance Industry, BV, Triumph, Buxton Falls, Haslington. So speaking the East Coast there, no inroads. No inroads. Thank you all, sister. Thank you all so much. And I'll be calling on you again very shortly because this story we know is not going away. Thank you all tonight for coming out. Tomorrow night we have Selwyn Peters and the Indomitable Paul Slow. And the last time Paul was here, you all come out in your numbers, and a beat Shara that night. He said you all only come because you all fast. You all want to see dignitaries. I tell you, no, it's not dignitaries. It's substance. Thank you all so much for your numbers tonight, last night, the night before. Our numbers have gone up tremendously. And it shows that our people are wired in to what's happening. Good night, and good night again, Auntie Brenda there, and the people of Providence, the people of these Bank of them. I go make my way up there because I still ain't got my Marby yet. So you'll see me shortly. Good night to all of you, and tomorrow night we'll be here again. Same time, same place. And remember, if you're in Tong tomorrow, join the protest in front of the office of the president.